Namaskaram. I'm L. Srinivasan. This is the fourth episode on Patanjali Yoga Sutra. In the last episode, we saw about the five identifications in detail and also saw about Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyantannirodha. The yogi's control is through perseverance and non-attachment. We saw about perseverance in the last episode. We'll continue to the next sutra. सत्तु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्य सत्कारा सेवितो दृढभूमिः सतु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्य satkara sevito dradabhumihi. In the previous episode, we saw why we should practice and what is practice. This sutra says the practice becomes firmly grounded with constant efforts and great love. Vivekananda says restraint doesn't come in one day, it comes with constant efforts. The next sutra, which is the 14th sutra, Drashta Anushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikara Sangya Vairagyam. Drashta Anushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikara Sangya Vairagyam. Patanjali has written this Yoga Sutra in such a structured manner. In the first episode, we saw about what happens when the minds are intensely concentrated and not intensely concentrated. If we are not intensely concentrated, the mind is identified with 5 modifications. We also saw in detail about these 5 modifications. We also saw about the control, which is about perseverance and non-attachment. In the last episode, we saw about perseverance and some examples of perseverance. And now Patanjali is talking about non-attachment. He says there are only 2 motives behind attachment. Because of these 2 motives only we have attachment. One is to see by ourselves, another is experience of others. These 2 forces throw the mind into several waveforms. Well, the whole lake is the chitta, with the water, with the lake bed, everything is the chitta. The mind is the water. So these 2 forces throw the mind into various forms, and controlling them is renunciation, is vairagyam. For example, if a person is walking on a street and a person comes and another person comes and steals the watch, well, what happens is that the attachment takes over the chitta and throws some mind forms which take the form of anger. If a person is able to control this, then the person has vairagyam. The experience of worldly minded people teach us that sense enjoyments are of the highest ideal. These are tremendous temptations. Denying them and not allowing the mind to take various forms is vairagyam. The chitta should not be allowed to be governed by these attachments. If we don't allow chitta to be governed by attachments, then that is vairagyam. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna says, Mithyacharaha sa uchyate, which means a person who has physically renounced the world but mentally still hankers around the worldly pleasure is a hypocrite. He says that non-attachment should be from the mind. The intentions are extremely important. Valmiki says in Ramayanam, Manohi hetuhu sarvesham indriyanam pravartane. The intention is only important, not the work. There is a very interesting story here, the story of Pusala. Pusala is a Nayanmar. And now Nayanmars and Alvars are actual history. Long time ago, there was a Pallava king named Rajasimha. He was ruling Kanchipuram. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And he built a beautiful temple for Lord Shiva. The next day was Kumbhabhishekam, opening of the temple, and Lord Shiva comes in the dream of King Rajasimha and tells him, see, I have another devotee, Pusalar. He is also building a temple for me in Tirunendravoor. So he has kept the Kumbhabhishekam the same muhurtam, the same auspicious time which you have kept. So I have come here to inform you that I will first attend his. So you postpone your muhurtam. Lord Shiva says this and then leaves. Rajasimha is surprised because he has built a magnificent temple, and now he was curious to see the temple of Pusalar. So he immediately leaves to Tirunundraur from Kanchipuram, and when he sees Tirunundraur, it's not a great place. There is not much prosperity, the land is dry, the population is too low. He asks a bunch of people, "Hey, do you know where's Pusalar?" And they say, "Yeah, there's a mental guy over there." Then Rajasimha is confused. He goes to Pusalar. He asks Pusalar, "You're only Pusalar?" "Yes, I am only Pusalar." "So where is your temple?" "Yeah, I've built my temple. Today is the Kumbhabhishekam." Rajasimha is confused because there is no temple. And Pusalar explains to Rajasimha, "The temple is my heart." Rajasimha now understands that intentions are the most important thing, not the work. So for a tribute to Pusalar, he builds a Shiva temple right there named Hridayaleshwarar. And that temple which Rajasimha built in Kanchipuram is Kailasanatha temple. See, Kailasanatha temple is one of the most biggest architectural marvels, like Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple and Brihadishwara temple. See, foreigners appreciate about the architecture. We people, we Indians must at least know the legend behind the temple, story of the deity, and talk about bhakti. Kailasanatha Kovil is a world-renowned temple, mostly known for its architecture. But Lord Shiva went to this a very poor priest's temple. See, this Pusalar was a temple priest. He didn't have money to build a temple, so he started building temple in his own heart. He was thinking, okay, I'm keeping this brick here, I'm keeping that brick here. He was building a temple in his own heart, and Lord Shiva attended his Kumbhabhishekam first. We people must talk about bhakti, but we must talk about the intentions. And that is what this sutra says. This sutra says about 99% non-attachment. So the intentions are still with us. But what happens when we have 100% non-attachment? That is the next Yoga Sutra. The next sutra is the 15th sutra. Tatparam Purusha Kyater Gunavai Trishnyam. Patanjali now talks about extreme non-attachment. It is the power of the highest manifestation that Vairagya can actually give up the qualities of the self. The self here meaning Purusha. The Purusha has some qualities. It has three qualities: Tamas, Rajas and Sattva. It is these three qualities that manifest themselves in the physical world as darkness and inactivity. Everything in nature, all manifestations are combinations and recombinations of these three qualities of the Purusha. Patanjali says extreme non-attachment can actually detach the Purusha from these qualities itself. The quality of the Purusha itself can be detached if we have non-attachment, extreme non-attachment. Patanjali says this extreme non-attachment arises only with the knowledge of the Purusha. See, this Yoga Sutra stresses about Raja Yoga, but now Patanjali appreciates and gives importance to Jnana Yoga. And Jnana Yoga means the knowledge of the Purusha. Patanjali Yoga Sutra is based on Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy has been given by sage Kapila, who is an avataram of Lord Vishnu. And Sankhya philosophy states that the Purusha is beyond nature. It is pure, effluent, and perfect. The world is a reflection of the self on nature. There is a word for this sentence. It is called pratikaha. This pratikaha word is used by sage Vyasa, the author of Mahabharata, in his Brahma Sutras, the basis of the Upanishads. It says nature includes the mind, or the mind is in nature. Thought is in nature. The grossest form of thought, mind, everything is nature. For example, jalebi, the grossest form of jalebi is also in nature. The nature has covered the man, and the exercise of Raja Yoga is to remove the covering and let the Purusha shine. For example, when we travel in rainy days, the wiper wipes off the mist on the glass so that we can see it clearly. So by practicing Raja Yoga, we should be able to, not should be able to, we will be able to remove this covering and let the Purusha shine. The next sutra is the 16th sutra. Vitarka vicharananda smitanugamat sampragnataha. Patanjali is now talking about samadhi. Samadhi means intense concentration. Now, in the previous episodes, we spoke about one-pointed concentration. One-pointed concentration is the concentration where we are concentrated in such a level where we ignore little disturbances. I'm sure all of us would have had that one moment where we would have done this one-pointed concentration for at least 10 to 15 seconds. At that period, our number of identifications would have drastically reduced. For example, emotions and physical pain or knowledge about the surrounding. Well, here we are talking about samadhi, which is the intense concentration. It is the last stage of Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga, the stages of Raja Yoga is the Ashtanga Yoga. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. See, Pranayama is not mainly literally about breath control. There is Ida, Pingala, Sushumna also. So, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. After meditation, Dhyana, then comes Samadhi, which is the 8th stage of the Ashtanga Yoga. So, intense concentration. And Patanjali says that there are two types of Samadhi, two types of intense concentration. One is Sampragnata Samadhi, another is Asampragnata Samadhi. Sampragnata Samadhi is about concentrating on one object. Asampragnata Samadhi is about concentrating on nothing. There are 4 varieties in Sampragnata Samadhi. First is Savitarka, then Vitarka, then Nirvitarka, then Savichara and Nirvichara. Now Savitarka is about meditating upon an object and isolating it from others. Vitarka is questioning. Well, in Vitarka, by meditating and questioning the object and getting the truth and the power from the object, we get the powers from the object. Now, Baleshu Hasti Baladini, Patanjali has written the sutra in the next chapter about the powers of yoga. He says, if a yogi concentrates on an elephant, the yogi acquires the powers of that elephant. So the same thing has been said here. In Vitarka, by questioning we attain the powers. But literally in the next line, Swami Vivekananda said that attaining these powers cannot give liberation. Using tapashakti cannot give liberation. The next one is Nirvitarka. In the very same meditation, when one struggles to take out the elements of time and space and think of them as they are, it is Nirvitarka. In the next one, which is the 4th one, I'll tell you the 4th one is divided into 2, Savichara and Nirvichara. By meditating more and more, the Tanmantras are seen as objects with discrimination, and such point is called Savichara. Without discrimination, it is called Nirvichara. The next higher step after Nirvichara is when we give up the grossest thought. See, we saw that the mind is in nature, the thought is in nature, the grossest form of mind and thought, everything is in nature. But the next highest step from Nirvichara is to even give up the grossest form. And when the yogi does that, such a state is Sananda Samadhi. It's a very blissful Samadhi. Now there's a loophole here. Sampragnata Samadhi is about concentrating on only one. But what happens if a yogi concentrates on the mind itself instead of a separate object? Well, at that point of time, the yogi attains what is called as Sasmita Samadhi. When the meditation becomes very ripe and concentrated, the yogi attains Sasmita Samadhi, which even gives up the grossest form of the mind itself. And this is what the Vedas say. The yogi attains what the Vedas say. This state, Sasmita Samadhi, is bereft of the body. But still, Vivekananda says, following Sampragnata Samadhi can never give moksham. Only Asampragnata Samadhi can give moksham. See, Samadhi is the last stage, right? So, in Sampragnata Samadhi, a yogi acquires significant amount of tapashakti. So, this gives us the idea of heaven, because heaven, which is Svargalokam, is often misunderstood as some sort of vacation place or some summer camp place. When a yogi has attained only 99% non-attachment, depending upon the intensity of non-attachment, a person becomes a deva, one of the 33 crore devas, for a particular period of time, depending upon the intensity of the non-attachment. Now, Indra and Surya and Shani, all the 33 crore devas, the names of the devas are basically designations like chairman and managing director and CEO. Each person, depending upon the intensity of non-attachment and tapashakti, becomes one of the devas for a particular period of time. After completing the tenure, the person again reincarnates, because only because of the non-attachment and tapashakti the person has become a deva, but still the prarabdha karma is there. So for that the yogi again reincarnates. Just as the Sankhya philosophy says, there is no God, because if there is God, there has to be two. One Atma which is bound, Atma which has got moksham. How can an Atma which is bound create and control the entire universe? And why will an Atma which has got moksham want to create and control the nature? Well, the author of Sankhya philosophy, Sage Kapila, who's an Angam of Lord Vishnu, says that the gods are imperfect. Meaning here, the devas who have significant amount of tapashakti. That's why they become one of the devas. And Kapila also says that the supreme one mentioned in the Vedas is the true one. Now coming back to Asampragnata Samadhi, which is the second variety of Samadhi. We'll read the next three sutras together to understand them, because all these three sutras are interconnected. Virama pratyayabhyasa purvaha samskara sheshonyah bhava pratyayo videha prakriti layanam shraddha virya smriti samadhi prajnapurvaka iteresham. What is the result of this constant high concentration? The dullness, laziness, goodness and badness will be destroyed. It is because of not following Asampragnata Samadhi, remanifestation occurs. Patanjali also says the equivalence for Asampragnata Samadhi, which is faith, memory, discrimination of the real and concentration. In the next episode, we will see about Pranava Mantra, because now from perseverance, non-attachment, in this episode we saw about non-attachment as well as Samadhi, the types of concentration, types of intense concentration. In the next few sutras, Patanjali has intensely written about Om, the Pranava Mantra. Namaskaram.